And welcome back. This is part 3 of the SuperATV Upgrade Spectacular. Love that name. Hopefully they do. Anyway, if you haven't seen the earlier parts of this video, I do recommend you go back and watch them so you are fully clued in as to what we're doing here. If you're just tuning in because you saw high clearance forward offset front A-arms, then well, you can just watch this video, but this is part of a series, an ongoing upgrade series. Quick recap. We're doing SuperATV arms, rear rake, forward, front, high clearance, fully adjustable, doing 35-inch tires, 15-inch wheels, 4-inch portals, 30% reduction, SuperATV tie rods. That's why it's the SuperATV Upgrade Spectacular. What we're going to be doing in this one is getting the front arms on. I'm going to go through putting on one side and then I'll do the other side myself off camera because it's just a repeat. And then we're going to do the outer mounting plate for the portals themselves, just to help tie in the arms together. Just like I did on the rear, we went ahead and put the new Rhino 2.0 axle in, which is also going in front and rear, and then put the mounting plate for the portal itself on the end of the arms, just to tie all that part of the suspension together. So we're going to do that up front as well. We're going to put the axles in too, and also there's one area on the frame that may need a little bit more support for all this extra awesomeness, and that is going to be these little lower front tabs. They're could use a little bit of some support, and that's what we have here. So lower front arm frame gusset from SuperATV, and it simply goes under here, and these tabs surround the factory mounting tabs so that it has much more substantial mounting point on both sides. This plate is pretty thick, maybe 1/4 inch. It's not 1/4 inch, it's 3/16, but it's pretty thick steel. I took my factory, or not the factory, but the aftermarket skid plate little front section off, because this is going to go in its place. Probably won't need that piece of skid plate anymore. This is going to help protect the bottom, but also, I mean, this thing's going to be so high off the ground. If I'm hitting rocks under there, then I'm somewhere I should not be to begin with. So but yeah, this simply just hammers in place, and it comes with new longer bolts, and it comes with nylock nuts or nylon nuts to bolt the lower arms together. So we'll go ahead and get that started. As soon as that freaking helicopter goes by, good lord. Military choppers, several of them sound like they were moving. Cool. I should have ran outside and got waved at them or something. Anyway, alright, let's get this started. So here's the new hardware for this gusset plate. I'm going to take the plate and just kind of begin to get it in position. Obviously, it's not just going to slide right into place, because these tabs probably already are tweaked a little bit from years of rock crawling and frame twisting and all the other fun stuff I do. But what we'll have to do is just kind of probably start it on one side. Yeah, there she goes. And if I can get it. That hole there lined up. That's what I'm gonna do, is just get one tab on each hole at a time. Yep, that one went in. That's pretty well lined up. Once everything is on and in place, then tightened up, and it'll, you know, shape itself the way it's supposed to be. Folks, oh yeah, there it goes. All right. Once they're all lined up as well, so you can start getting all 4 of them in, then the alignment will get easier. Yep, that was just about to go. All right, so that's just about it. It's gonna be hard to get in there with that camera to see which way it needs to go. Yep, just cleared the bolts for the front diff and cleared the lower part of the frame. It's just a matter of getting these tabs to align with the holes, but we're just about there, so all it needs is a little tweaking here and there. And what I'm probably going to do is go ahead and get these bolts all the way through, and then on the other side we'll get them through while we put the arm on there. Alright, this bolt's pretty much going through, so I'm just going to take my little drill here, walk it on through just a little bit. The heads on these bolts, by the way, are different size. They're actually 13 millimeter, but this one, oh yeah, that was ready too. All right, just gonna leave it that far. That'll keep this side in place while we work on the other side. All right, back around here, I went ahead and pulled those 2 bolts out since they're pretty close to being in place anyway. I'm just gonna go ahead and slide the rear arm into the tabs. Now, of course, I got even more stuff to line up. My collection of tools and stuff down here is growing. I need to put that stuff away since I'm done with it. So I'm just kind of wiggle them around, get them pretty much lined up, tap it through. Do the same for the back. Looks about right. Yeah, hang on. Okay. I'm just gonna let that drop down, drive that bolt through. See how easily it suddenly went once I took the pressure off that arm. And that one went right on through. Probably partially because the pivot block forcing that bolt to go straight, as well as the other side in the right place. I'm gonna go ahead and start that nut. Let's see if this one will. Not quite there. Appears as if the side needs to go up as well, just like the other side. So you can grab my C-clamp. Put it right in there. Put just a little pressure on the bottom of that plate so it move. That's about as good as I can see up in there. Yeah, she's going. I'll go ahead and use a little drill to run it on the rest of the way in. Okay. Now that is going to shore up those lower tabs and mounting point to the frame for these arms very nicely. Alright. The nut is still 15 millimeter, so I'm just going to run these up a little bit. That's far enough. Do remember that we're going to need to take this back out in order to do our alignment. That's going to be fun. Honestly though, getting that all tightened down good and letting it settle a little bit will probably make getting the bolts in and out easier. So I think I will just go ahead and tighten these down for now. No concern about that little 1/4" drive impact over tightening them. But even look at this. See how as tight as the bolts are, and hammered it down, and at least 30 pounds of torque on them. And look at this thing. It just moved just as free and easy. It's fantastic. I love this new bushing setup. Alright, so with that done, let's go ahead and put the upper arm on. And then I'll put my shock replacement stick in there to hold it in place so it ain't drooping and falling all over. Now do remember to put your, here's something, anyway, put your tie rod below the arm before you put it on. Otherwise you're going to be taking it back apart and having a do-over. Nobody wants a do-over if they can help it. And that's one of the bolts I said I wanted to clean up. I'm gonna go, you know what? My grinder with the wire wheel on it is no longer in service. I have a new grinder to go there, but it has 2 grinding wheels on it. It didn't come with a wire wheel, and it's a different size, so unfortunately I can't get that after it. But what I can do at least is do some of this little magical stuff. Just rub it down good. I mean, it really doesn't hurt anything with that stuff on there. It just kind of looks gross. And if you get enough of it on there, it could actually make it difficult to drive it out. So, yeah, that's fine. There she goes. Watch out for your vent line for the diff. Get the washer in the front. Get the nut started. Go ahead and use a little impact to get it snug. Again, watch over that vent line, don't tear it. Oh, I gotta swap this. So used to everything just being 15, and then they throw a 13 in there at you. Just changes the entire plan. Okay. Right, on this one, I don't want to mess that boot up, so I'm going to try to just run it up from this side. There we go. Alright, since the upper arm is not coming back off for alignment or anything else really, I'm going to go ahead and torque it down. It's 40 pounds, just like the rear. I think a squirrel just took a leap and missed. Maybe it was the one that's been using the roof of the shop on the highway. Oh, this is hard to get to. Oh, I can reach down there. Alright. 40 on that one as well. Ah, goodness, that's tight. And here we are. The front arm is now mounted. Now this is where the front sway bar would mount if your machine has it, but this one does not. It didn't even come with it. So now one thing I am going to do before I put that replacement shock spacer in there is go ahead and get that axle in. I need to get my rope and hold this up out of the way. Alright, this is tied up. Let's go get the new Rhino 2.0 axle. These axles come with a new cotter pin right there taped inside the box. Don't miss it. And they also come with an axle nut and new cone washers, but I have an opinion of cone washers. You can watch the other earlier parts of the series to see what that is. But we're not going to be using the axle nut, not going to be using those washers. I'm not sure about the cotter. No, we're not using the cotter pin either, so it's going to stay there. Alright, I wiped some of the green grease I'm using on the splines going into the diff. Got a little on my finger. I'm just going to wipe some inside the output hub of the diff itself. Just get it coated into the splines good. Already cleaned everything out with WD-40 like I did on the rear. So just get the splines lined up and then start pushing and it should tap right in. You can hear the grease or the air making its way through the grease. Alright, just pull on it and make sure it's seated good. It is. And then we'll just let her rest. Take this off the rope, let it rest. Alrighty, now it's time to get the outer mounting plate for the front portals and tie all this together. Alright, I got some hardware together. I got the front plate for the passenger side and the steering arm, hardware to mount the steering arm to the plate. I got my shock replacement stick here. If you don't remember, or if you're unsure still as to why I'm using this instead of just the shock, it is because these are cut to ride height versus full droop, which the shock would be using or holding everything here. So using this, all the suspension and everything is sitting at the geometry it would when the machine is sitting on the ground, which makes everything just line up better. So I'm just going to loosely attach that in there, and then this is where the arm sits while the machine is sitting on the ground at normal ride height, see, instead of just full droop hanging way down here. Alright, let's see about getting the mounting plate on here. These are SuperATV's heavy duty ball joints that came pre-installed in the arms. What's really good about them is they're serviceable. There's a ring on the outside of this ball joint you can take out, and there's a little pin, I don't know if you can see it, that's right there. You can stick a pick down in there and push it out, and then this center section unscrews, and then the entire ball and stud and everything comes out the top of the joint, so you can You can clean it, and you can just clean it out, get all the grit out of there. You can re-grease it. When you put it back together, you can actually tighten this down and adjust the play in the ball joint to remove any play it might have developed over time. Put the pin back in it, put it back together, and even finish capping it off with grease to that needle fitting right there. Really nice ball joints. Very strong as well. With them being serviceable, I doubt I'll ever have to get any more ball joints for this razor. I'm going to make sure the groove for the pinch bolt is turned around. And then we're going to slide the axle through the hole there, and then put the stud through this mounting plate. And just kind of get a little bit of eyeball trying to line it up and get the bolt started through there. Yeah, wiggle it around a little bit and it should go right through if you get it all lined up properly. I'm just going to start that bolt just for now. Go ahead and get the bottom one attached. Now you see, this is the reason I use this and start it from the top, because now everything is held up out of our way instead of hanging all down, causing problems. So spin that one around properly. Hopefully I'm getting this in the shot. I guess I could check. Yeah, pretty good right there. Okay. So a little tricky to line all this up by yourself. Alright, got that going. Push the ball joint up until you can see the, oop, that's a bit far. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and get the bolt started. Oh, there we go. That worked out. Get the nut started on the other side. Just let the axle rest there and make sure it's not in any sort of bind. It shouldn't be, but you know, it doesn't hurt to check. Alright, run these up. Go ahead and torque these because they're not coming back loose anytime soon. Alright, these are actually 42. The front arms as well, I think I said 40, but these front bolts on the frame side are 42. I haven't tightened the bottom yet because, like I said, we have to take that back loose to do our alignment. But the top, went ahead and tightened to 42. These pinch bolts here are going to be 42. Of course, you could just do like everybody else and just hammer it down with an impact, but that's not how I do things. All right. All that is together. Now we're going to go ahead and mount the steering arm to this plate. It goes right here, and the reason we're doing it now is it's going to be difficult to do once that portal box is bolted down on here, because this is going to fill up this and you need to get to that side. So we're going to slide these bolts through. They go through from the inside out because the portal is literally going to sit right here next to it. But I got these bolts out of the front hardware kit that came with the portals. Now there's a bolt, one of the mounting bolts for the portal is going to go right through here, and that actually goes through the steering arm. So we need something to put through there to keep that in line. We could just use another bolt. Let's see how this works. Yeah, it's a little loose. When this thing sits flat and is up against the plate where it's supposed to be, it lines itself up automatically, but I think I might use that center punch there to help keep it in line. Yeah, that'll work nicely. I can just leave that in there while I tighten this down. Alright, let's snug these up. These are 18 millimeter. And that should be lined up. I took my dead blow here and just kind of tapped that punch in tight just a little bit to help hold all this together. I will visually inspect that hole real quick before we get busy tightening all that down. Yeah, that is absolutely perfectly in line. So I'm just gonna leave it in there like that for now. Alright, Super doesn't give you torque specs on these bolts. They just say secure, tighten, that kind of stuff. So just from experience and some internet research even on a fastener website, a typical zinc plated M12 bolt should be tightened around 86 foot-pounds. So we're going to do these at 80, which is best handled by my 1/2" drive torque wrench, and that should secure it nicely. Alright, we're very close to wrapping up this side, but we do still need to attach the tie rod. Knock that back out, knock everything over. Meant to do that, of course. Alright, so if you're using the factory tie rods, and if you're running portals, you really should not. They go into this outer hole here, I believe. We're not using the factory tie rods. We're actually going to make, well, I don't know, it could still use this. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know the reason they'd have two holes in there if that wasn't the case, but regardless, we're going to get the hardware from the tie rod, the SuperATV heavy duty tie rod kit for one side, and get ready to assemble that onto this back plate. Alright, so what we have here is the stud. One end is tapered. We have a couple of nylock nuts here and a couple of little cotter pins, and then what they call a misalignment bushing. I don't really understand that. To me, it should be called an alignment bushing because it aligns this heim joint with this stud, but whatever. Misalignment bushing, I can deal with it. Alright, now one thing we could do here is go ahead and run this tie rod out, and then with this halfway straight and set it on here, or we could simply just do that and then run it out and do it all at one time, which is kind of my preferred method. Now this heim joint they're kind of stiff. It's not going to immediately align itself with your project here or your progress, so I'm going to take my center punch there. Alright, so what you want to do is that part right there, shoulder, the shoulder on the stud is going to go the bottom of that heim joint, and now that it is, we'll take this bushing, and the tapered side goes up and the straight side, the shoulder side, goes down. It goes right into that heim joint like that, and then this nut will cinch down on top of it. We'll do the same thing from the bottom. Now the bottom is going to pull this stud, the taper, into this plate, which will tighten it down. Now an easy way to make all that happen at once is to put your wrench on the bottom side. Now we're larger than 18 here. Anyway, put a wrench on this side and a socket on this side of your drill and just run them both down together. Alright, these are 19. I've never actually put this set on before. This is my first time. I have adjusted a set before because Jeremy, old Wallace, he put some on his 900 and he didn't do it right and they actually came off. Just so we're not gonna have these come off though. Alright, top and bottom are now tight, so what we're going to do is torque the bottom one to where it needs to be, and then we'll do the top. Pulling that tapered end of that stud down into the steering arm. Alright, there she is. I'll do the same on the top. Okay. Now we'll put the little cotter pins in through the holes. Now these are just for safety. If somehow that thing begins to work itself loose, you'll get some play in the steering. Dang it. But it won't actually come loose, so you won't lose control of the vehicle. We'll do the top one the same way. Okay, wrapped around it nice. Just recenter that. Alright, now when we get ready to do the alignment, see, all we have to do is rotate this tie rod, and as you can see, it's swinging out. I'm not going to worry about position right now too much, but that side is done. So we have these at 42 and they're tightened down. We have our frame gusset plate mounted. Those bolts are simply just in there. That's right, I did tighten them down just to compress all that metal together to see if it helped line everything up when we go to take it out to do the pivot block adjustments to adjust the camber angle on these front wheels. We've got the tie rod installed. We have the steering arm attached to the portal back plate, and the back plate itself is attached to the A-arms with the pinch bolts, and those are tightened to 42 pounds. Did these at 80, did these at 80. Alright, so that's the front assembly on one side. So what I'm going to do now is swap gloves and go to the other side and get it assembled just like this to this point. And then for you it'll be just a blink of the editing cut, and for me it'd probably be about 30 minutes. So see you then. And we're back. It's quite a bit longer for me than it was for you. But this side is now complete, just like the other side. Got everything torqued down. I got the bottom bolts just tight to help kind of hopefully form that metal plate to line up where it's supposed to go. I have to say this side did go together easier than that side, since that side was already together and tightened down, so maybe a little bit of validity in that theory. Also, one thing I did is I did a quick string method alignment for the front toe end. What it's consists of, I had my steering wheel straight and I took some twine and just hooked it around that lower bolt and pulled it across this plate. And the plate should be relatively straight, you know, with because the rear doesn't have a whole lot of toe adjustment. But I pulled it down under the lift and then across this front plate, and that'll get it close enough for now. I just adjusted the tie rod out until this plate matched the string. That works fine if, you know, you're like a high school kid or something like that, but It's not going to work great if you want to do it, the right way, or do it professionally, so to speak. The reason for it is if your track width of your front and rear tires are not exactly the same, then if your back tires are, let's say, wider than your front tires, even by just a little bit, when you run that string down here, it's going to be at an angle, and that's going to give you some amount of toe in, just because of the angle the string is running. Now, obviously, a longer vehicle is going to suffer less from that, because the angle is going to be very slight. But if you want it dead on, then that's just a way to get it close enough for now. So we'll go through the rest of the alignment, and like I said, I'm going to do an entire alignment video once I get to that point. But that'll be like the last thing we do, pretty much after the tires are back on it. But for now, the suspension arms are complete. The next thing to do is to mount the portals themselves. Once we get them on, then we'll have to start working with the brakes. That's going to be a job. I'm sure that'll be a video all by itself. This is going to bring us to the end of part 3. Part 4 is just going to be mounting the portal boxes, which is actually pretty easy. So I'm going to go ahead and start on it right now. Just click over to the part 4 and we'll continue the install. See you there.